If you're among those already convinced who to vote for in the upcoming provincial election, one thing you might not have considered yet is the diversity of your ballot. One former federal candidate explains how diverse options could help improve policy for underrepresented groups.
I took a class that wasn't part of my major because a professor was gay and I wanted to see a role model. And that was the first time it really occurred to me that identity is really important in representation.
Kyle Demas ran as an openly gay Liberal Party candidate during the 2019 federal election. Demas, who is a marine ecologist, attracted supporters not just in his riding of Vancouver East, but across Canada.
And as I started looking at politics myself, I started looking for more queer candidates and members of parliament and MLAs to look up to, and there weren't many. I think of non-binary candidate for Green leader, Amita Kuttner, who, if they're elected, we'll now have to change the way we talk about gender breakdown in Parliament. And trans youth around Canada will have that role model to look up to.
The House of Commons saw a growth in visible minorities during the 2019 federal election, though some groups still remain underrepresented.
Well, the playing field is obviously historically challenging. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, is that there's always been a lower percentage of different minorities in the House of Commons relative to their population, to their numbers in the population.
But Dr. Sanjay Jaran says you can't ignore the efforts in trying to expand the pool of political candidates. Parties have been recruiting people to make themselves look more representative of the population. One dark side of it, he says, is the history of some parties trying to organize the vote along ethnic lines, pointing to the 2015 election as an example.
No party is innocent of this, is that trying to get candidates in ridings that are ethnically diverse to match the sort of dominant ethnicity in that riding as a way to potentially organize voting along the sort of ethnic line. When that's the intention, is it a laudable goal?
At least on the 2S LGBTQ plus front, Demas says he's seen positive changes.
Some of my friends who are having kids and two men having children have a different amount of leave that they're allowed to take as parents, because the original structure was dependent upon maternity leave plus then parental leave as opposed to just parental leave. And so that's something that now, with queer representation in government, there's been advocacy for, and they're working to change that. You have to remember that governments are responsible for the well-being of all of their citizens and all of their communities. And if you don't have a diverse set of opinions, worldviews, perspectives, you risk not having policies that support everyone in your community.
In Vancouver, Kier Junos, City News.